welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with WE. This is episode number 38. Oh, time flies, isn't it? We already got to the stage of getting into the 40s already. But anyway, that's largely due to your support. And in this episode, I'm going to be obviously putting forth my views on what has happened so far in the IPL and various other things that will be of great interest to all of you. And I'm sure that you will enjoy whatever it is that we have picked upon to talk about in this episode. And as I always like to remind people, you can catch up on all our earlier episodes on the handle of Sportstar on the YouTube channel. And also for those of you who are joining us for the first time, please subscribe to the channel and press all the buttons that there are, like and whatnot. And obviously, not to forget that we always look forward to your feedback and comments because that is very, very important for us to understand as to how we have been doing and what it is that you would like us to focus on in the forthcoming episodes. Yeah, it's been terrific in the sense that nobody expected this league phase to be so interesting to us, the tail end of it. And if you're talking about a tournament that's been going on for just about almost close to 8 to 9 weeks now, and still you're not aware of who the teams that are going to be playing in the knockout stage, that is an indication of how tough the competition has been. And it's also a fantastic advertisement for the IPL brand as well. But also full credit to all the sites which have kept going relentlessly despite the ebbs and flows that you normally see in IPL. And as far as the top four is concerned, it's all a case of the teams that get their act together at the right time and get the pieces fitting in nicely when it matters is what is going to obviously prove vital, and that's what has happened here as well, because we saw a few teams starting off really well and then tapering down and then having to pick up the pieces again. We saw some teams struggle at the start and then really find their momentum. So in a long drawn tournament, as I said earlier, these things tend to happen, especially in a T20 format. And in terms of the ebbs and flows, I'm not surprised. But in terms of the way things are panned out for certain teams, it's a bit surprising. CSK started off well, and then suddenly, they're being a bit hot and cold, and then we saw Delhi Capitals did not get off at all, and suddenly they found some momentum. They won 4 out of 5, but unfortunately they'll have to be restricting themselves to being the spoilers. And then we saw Rajasthan Royals being up and down all the time. They would be ruining the fact if they don't make it to the knockouts. They'll be ruining the fact that they lost a couple of games at least that they could have won. And of course RCB is also being up and down all the time, and they're yet to crack the formula when it comes to finding the right bowling combination that works for them at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. In all these years, I think they'll be disappointed if again they don't make it to the top 4. But you'll have to obviously appreciate the fact that the teams that do well in the auction, the teams that are very clear when it comes to making a combination is what is going to triumph. And in that front, I think Titans have done really well, as have the Lucknow Giants. And then, of course, CSK has been really good at it. And then Mumbai Indians has made it a habit of really unearthing talent, nurturing that talent, and converting them into match-winning elements. So it's interesting, but still there's a lot to play for. And even in the final week of the league phase, there's still a lot of interest left. There's still quite a few unexpected twists and turns that can happen as well. Yeah, sometimes you tend to overlook the obvious things, isn't it? When you're caught up in so many things. That's exactly what happens at times. People tend to overlook the fact that the mid-game is important, which obviously will provide a lot of indication or which will set up the end game as well. And if you accept that, then what you'll also accept is the fact that the teams that can do well in the middle order is going to really be the ones that is going to go all the way in this tournament. And I'm not surprised as far as things panning out that way. And the other thing is that as the tournament goes into the second half in this Indian summer, you will have pitches getting a little bit tired, and you will have surfaces gripping a little bit, and you'll also see the ball not really coming onto the bat, which means teams and batters who can obviously now handle the spinners when the ball grips and it does not come onto the bat are the ones who's going to stay ahead. And that's the reason why you see teams which have had middle order serving them well have really done well. If you look at the openers that you spoke about, yes, they were complemented very well by the middle order batters in their respective sides. If you look at the Chennai Super Kings, look at the middle order that they have. They have Raidu, they have Rahane, they have Moeen Ali, they have Jadeja, they have, of course, Shivam Dube, they have Tale, Dhoni. What more do you want? It never seems to end at all. Similarly, Rajasthan Royals also have a lot of good middle order batters, starting off with Sanju Samson and the rest of them. So if you look at the Gujarat Titans, they got good middle order batters as well. And one of the things that I've always maintained, I think I would have told you at least on 2 or 3 occasions, that the runs that the lower order batters make or the bowlers make will always prove to be the difference. And of course, Rashid Khan, that particular innings did not obviously get his objective or achieve his objective. His team did not go past the line, but still it made a huge difference. And the threat that he can play such an innings is enough for his side as they get into the tail end of the tournament. So you need to have middle order batters capable of playing on tracks that can really be challenging towards the second half of the tournament, and you also need to have batters who have the skill sets to handle good quality spinners on such tracks. Sometimes captains go by instinct, sometimes they take decisions based on their gut feeling. What happens then is if it misfires, it's going to stand out and people are not going to forget it in a hurry. For example, Rana himself starting off against the Royals and then Jaiswal getting stuck into him very badly is something that people will remember for a long time. Of course, he had his rationale for doing what he did. He thought maybe that he will make Jaiswal complacent because he's been in good form, or maybe sometimes you will feel that what can perhaps be a disadvantage can be converted into an advantage. By that I mean a short boundary might perhaps tend to make the batter play a loose shot. Is something that the opposing captains might think of. But at the end of the day, what happens is you are gauged by the result your moves produce, and if the results go against you, then you are in for roasting. Now that's what captaincy is all about, but you cannot ever take any decision on the field based on what it is that people are going to say if it goes wrong. You decide on one thing, carry on and get on with it. If it succeeds, it succeeds. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because T20 is such a kind of game. Who would have thought that Rinku would get 5 sixes in the last over? But that was brilliant batting on that particular night. Similarly, there are certain things you cannot ever take into account at all, but which will happen on a field of play. So I'm not one who would sit back and really sort of do a post-mortem of decisions that were taken on the field, especially the instinctive ones that have been taken on the field. But get on with it, try and see if you cannot repeat it in the future. That's when it'll make a huge difference. But if you're going to ruminate, if you're going to sulk, and if you're only going to develop a slightly defensive mindset, that's when the problems creep in. As long as you're taking decisions, it's fine. Nobody can get 100% right as far as decision making is concerned, and especially in a T20, it's going to be impossible to achieve a high rate of success like 90% or 95%. A lot of captains who may not like the style of Ashish Nehra because they would tend to feel that they are capable enough of handling the side on the field. That being the case, a lot of captains would have felt uncomfortable, or they would have not been as good as they could have been when you have somebody who's all the time downloading things into you. So that's one thing that was really different. But the thing is that Hardik Pandya, being a calm character, or at least having accepted the fact that Ashish Nehra is a kind of personality who likes to constantly contribute in terms of strategies and tactics, he said, okay, fine. He's only doing it in the interest of the side and for the side to do well. He's taken it in the right way and he's okay, taken it or ignored it as the case may be. That has worked well because temperamentally, I think both are obviously struck a good medium there, temperamentally and also in terms of communications. That's one reason that that combos work well. In terms of Hardik Pandya's captaincy, it is interesting because, as I said, even last year, um, going by whatever has happened in his career prior to that a few years ago, um, it would have been surprising to a lot of people for him to have exhibited that kind of maturity that he has. But what is happening is that he's only getting better and better, and he's also reaffirming the fact that he could be a prime candidate or one of the leading candidates in the future Team India as well. But the only thing here is that he needs to somehow get that confidence or somehow infuse the confidence in others that he is going to be bowling on a regular basis. Because as of now, we've seen him not bowl in a few games. That's worked well for his side. Their side is not obviously been depending a lot on his bowling in as much as they depend on his batting and his leadership qualities. But as far as Team India is concerned, it's the demands are going to be different as far as Hardik Pandya is concerned, and we'll have to wait and see. It's only when people are confident that he's going to be contributing with the ball as well on a regular basis, you would obviously perhaps pip the others to the captaincy role, but otherwise, I think it's going to be a bit difficult. Uh, yes, Nera, you would obviously, uh, if you know him, you will understand where he comes from. He likes to sort of be on the job. He likes to be contributing all the time. He likes to ensure that uh, not the smallest of details are missed out on the field because you don't really get to see things the way you would see things when you're withdrawn and when you're outside. So the lenses are different for a captain on the field and for somebody who's outside who's watching it from 100 meters away. So it's not something that you'll see everywhere, but it's happened. We saw the late combo of late Ulma and Cronier um, working well that way because Ulma would constantly give his feedback to Cronier. That worked well. It's all a question of how the captain sees things as far as the methodology of a coach is concerned. And also the fact is that the coach needs to try and impress upon the captain as to why he is so animated, why it is he wants to be contributing all the time in terms of inputs. See, I told you a long time ago, I told you GT is always going to be one of the best sides in this tournament. Right. It's happened. I said yes. I mentioned RR, I think, at that point in time. Right. I mentioned Lucknow. I did not perhaps talk about CSK then because I did not really gauge as to what is going to happen with their limited bowling experience. But that man, Dhoni, has done a tremendous job in terms of handling them, in terms of ensuring that he made do with whatever resources he had, which has been his specialty. And to pull off what he's pulled off with his inexperienced bowling lineup, hats off to him. And it's not a surprise that the CSK management would want him to play eternally, considering what it is that he's done over a long period of time. Be that as it may, I think uh, within this five, I think is where you will find the top four. Yes, it's not long before we'll get to know who will be playing the knockout stage and also who will go on to win the title. Yes, a lot of discussions will be happening. in the intervening period. And of course, one thing for sure is not only a case of things being hot because it's the Indian summer, it's also going to be very hot because the IPL is being steaming for all these weeks, and it will continue to do so until the end from the looks of it. I hope you enjoy the tournament with the same enthusiasm as you did all these weeks. And may your favorite team go on to win the tournament. And that's it from me. And until I catch up with you next time, be good and stay safe.